If moving caused you to become debt-free, what would you give up in order to accomplish that goal? An opportunity has come up where I'm able to make a move and completely wipe out my debt, therefore increasing my cash flow overall across the board into anything I want to do. So as I was thinking through it and going crazy in my head, I decided to sit down and record a video. That way I have my thoughts down on paper and in the digital landscape so that I could think through the solutions. So my work has offered kind of a permanent remote situation. I've been working remote for the past year and a half during the pandemic, but that's always been local to the office. In fact, I bought this house because it happened to be in between two cities that I like and 10 minutes away from the headquarters location. It's really funny that I closed on the house and I went through the whole process, and since I'd moved in, I think I've been to the office 3 times to check on the lab, and I've had no meetings there, no anything like that. So it's been kind of this funny transitional period from non-home ownership to home ownership, and the reasons why I purchased this property really no longer apply. I currently live in Texas, where the market is kind of red hot right now. There's a lot of people moving in from California and other locations to be around in the surrounding like Austin, San Antonio area. And because of that, I closed on my property before the pandemic, before all the lockdowns. My equity position in the home has increased pretty dramatically. So it's presented an opportunity, and I talked about it with my boss and all of the proper channels. And it's presented an opportunity for me to move out of this region back kind of to my hometown and just buy a property free and clear. Whereas I'd been working for a few years to just get out of debt, just on the commercial side. And so the mortgage is really the last step for me being kind of completely debt free. So if I were to make this move, it would eliminate all of my debt. And instead of paying, thousands upon thousands of dollars to a mortgage company in interest, I would then be able to use that capital to do other fun things. Just a note, if you hadn't guessed, I'm not any sort of a financial advisor. Don't take any of my advice as fact. I'm just kind of relaying and detailing like what my thoughts are on the potential move. Also, as I go through this, I did some arts and crafts. I might present some numbers as far as, what I would be selling at, what I would be gaining, what the house market would be. All those are estimates. Just wanted to use some tangible numbers. That way it makes sense in my brain. You want to be in the shot? That's okay. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. So let's go through the example. I purchased a home, let's call it for $300,000. Within the last year, I've gained about $50K in equity. With the $50K that I put down as a down payment and paying off, let's say $20K over the past year, I have a considerably larger equity position in my home than I normally would. So I currently have like a few different options with the whole permanent remote thing. So let's work through that. Option one, I could stay in Texas. I could, continue to pay down my mortgage in this current house. I actually love this place. The amenities are great. The community is great. My neighbors are great. Like, there's nothing wrong with my current house. There's no thing that's pushing me out of the region. I would basically pay off the house and then stay here until I could no longer afford the property tax. That might be years to come. The way things are looking, that might be sooner than what I expected. That's not a bad option. Of course, the pros are I don't have to move. I like my house. I bought this house because of the light and because of Eddie, and both of those things still are amazing. I have great neighbors. The amenities are good. I have this nice pool. I have a gym. I have a couple gyms. The region itself is good and growing. This is like the place to be, and I have a house here. So that's not a bad thing. The workforce in general for IT is moving remote, But it is nice to know that a lot of companies are basing their headquarters here. So if I did have to walk across the street and get another job, I potentially could. And also there's quick access to the rest. And I'm petting Eddie over here. If you're wondering why I keep looking over here, he's going crazy on the couch right here. There's also quick access to the rest of the United States. So if I wanted to go to the East Coast, to the West Coast, the plane ride is not bad at all. So the cons of this current option is that it's hot. It's Texas, but I've been here for 10 years, so I've pretty much gotten used to the heat. I have a high-ish mortgage payment. It's high considering where I used to live, but it's completely manageable. I definitely pay over mortgage value to just get down the principal, but it is a mortgage payment, and the move would be to remove that. And the other major con is I'm away from family. So while I did go across the United States and did this crazy journey, the older I'm getting, the more I'm realizing like, hey, family's not too bad. And, as the years tick by, as, kids start growing up, as parents start retiring, it's, so that affected me more than I had anticipated last year, and being closer to family would be a good thing. Option 2, move to New York. The idea here is to buy a cheaper place with the equity position that I have in the current house. The pros of that, of course, is I have no more mortgage. Therefore, I have no more debt. I would be considered debt-free. It would be a great financial position. Another benefit would be the landscape up there. I mean, there's beautiful wineries, waterfalls, rolling hills, lakes, all of those things I took for granted as a kid. I'm now finding myself missing as I age and get older. And it would be nice to be able to, go camping whenever I wanted, as long as it wasn't freezing, and, just go on some adventures that way with the extra cash flow that I would have from not having any debt. Another pro, of course, would be I'd be next to family, so any family functions I'd be able to attend. If my family needed help or whatever, it would be good to be closer, to be able to just immediately provide assistance instead of trying to help with phone calls. And there's only so much you can do when you live across the country. The cons. It's upstate New York, so it's freezing during the wintertime. I am well versed in that, and that would be one thing that I would have to get used to again. There's a tax rate up there. Texas doesn't have an income tax, which is amazing. I think it's 6.5%, something like that. I don't know. I'd have to check the tax code. It sounds like such an old, boring thing to do, but I would have to check the taxes to make sure I wouldn't be saving money, but then also giving up a ton. Another con is I'd have to move. I moved a year ago, although it wasn't that bad. I just don't like moving. I moved a lot during my leaving of New York, finding a position, getting, my early career going. Moving again would be, I guess, fun. I don't know if I set this in S&Q mode or regular mode. What if I did this entire thing in slow-mo and I have not been realizing that yet? Let's check that. Okay. We're in regular mode here, not slow-mo. That's a good thing. So one I also put on here was there's a region risk that I'm seeing just because it's where I grew up, and when I was growing up there in the mid-90s, early 2000s, there weren't a ton of tech jobs available up in that region. Now, since IT in general is going more remote, it shouldn't be as much of a concern, but I think I have just a bias towards the region itself because I don't remember a lot of tech jobs being up there. Last con is Yeah, family's great and all until you live with them, I'm assuming. I've been away from my family for so long that I've gotten used to being very independent, and I listed it as a con, but it's also a pro and a con. Like, family would be there and family would be there. So I just would have to like relearn to negotiate around that. So let me walk you through the actual plan. So as an example right now, I have this house, which is great. I love it. And I hope you appreciate my artwork here. I do not know how to draw. I also have this pretty little tree that's just chilling right there. And let's just say that's worth 300K. Well, since everybody's been moving here, I've added on about 50K onto that price tag right there. We got that little guy. So our equity position now in the home is 350,000. By the way, these numbers are super rudimentary, and I would have to check with an actual realtor to make sure all these numbers are valid. Let's say we move. Well, the plan here would be to purchase a primary residence, which up there, a house that I would need for myself and my puppy would be around 120, something like that. Way different than Mr. 300. Or 120. I'd take an extra 100 and I would start to build out some communities that I could then charge some rent for. And so the entire position here would cost less equity than here. Or the entire position here, with what I'm trying to do in New York, would be less risky and cost less than the current home that I stay in. So I would downgrade my current house, become debt-free, become mortgage-free. I would basically get some rentals and get some extra income on the side. And then with this situation, my cash flow would be awesome. So that's the current plan, is say goodbye to this house that I bought a year ago, buy a cheaper place, become mortgage-free, debt-free, and then buy some rentals up there as well. I have no idea if it's going to work, but I guess we could try. We could figure it out. What I'm learning is that these videos are really good to just like actually actively think through a problem and then get it outside of my brain, put it down somewhere, and then it's done. I've thought through it. It makes sense. I have a meeting scheduled with my realtor. I have a trip planned to New York to check out some places. Well, I need to actually plan the trip. I haven't planned it yet. I need to get on that. But I think all of these pieces, something that I thought I had to wait, 5+ years on, it's all happening really fast. So my plans that were extended over multiple years is all kind of like shrunk together in about a year, just because of the white hot like real estate market that I'm finding myself in. And at the end of the day, if none of this works out and I end up staying here, I actually like my place. So there's nothing negative for me to think through this plan and think through these ideas. So I'll let you know how it goes. I'll update you here. I'll probably bring you along on my New York trip as I check out some properties. And we'll find ourselves wherever we are. But wherever we are, we'll be together and life will be great. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.